Who's the essential ad in fantasy baseball and who's it time to cut bait on? We'll go through all of that in this week's Rotoworld Fantasy Baseball ad drop. My ad for this week is Chicago White Sox reliever Michael Kopech, who's rostered in just 29% of leagues. The closer landscape is really tough right now. We had early injuries to Johan Duran and Devin Williams and Paul Sewald and Jordan Romano. And then we had struggles with David Bednar and Jose Leclerc and Tanner Scott. But if you're looking for help, I think it's time to turn to Michael Kopech, who has 2 saves now for the Chicago White Sox in 7 1/3 innings with a 2.45 ERA, a 1.23 whip, and 12 strikeouts. I know the White Sox are bad, which is going to limit some of his saves upside, but we've seen closers on bad teams get 20-plus saves in a season. So I think if Kopech is able to keep this job, 15 saves is not out of the realm of possibility. The other benefit is that he's going to throw multiple innings at times, like we saw on Tuesday when he threw 2 scoreless innings and struck out 4. Those kind of outings are going to help you with your ratios. So even if he's only getting you 15 saves, he could really help with strikeouts and ERA and whip, which is really good out of that reliever spot. He's pumping out over 100 out of the bullpen. He has a good slider. The command has been iffy, but if all those components come together, he could be a really, really solid relief pitcher. Getting relievers like this who only get a handful of saves but throw multiple innings is something that is often much better than chasing saves with really mediocre pitchers who could blow up your ratios. That's why I was really in on Mason Miller at the start of the year, and I think Michael Kopech fits a similar mold, and so he's somebody, if you're struggling with that final reliever spot in your league, I'd be trying to add Michael Kopech. My hold for the week is Victor Scott, who's rostered in just 19% of leagues. Yes, I know Victor Scott is just 4 for 44 with 1 steal to start his career, and so you're thinking that he's giving you nothing. And I'm not listing him here as somebody you need to hold forever, but he is somebody I'd be trying to keep on my bench for just a little while longer. He probably has about another week of regular playing time before the Cardinals have a roster crunch, and so I would like to hold Victor Scott as long as the Cardinals do. Scott has game-changing speed, and while he is not swinging and missing much, his called strike rate is high, and that's leading to an elevated strikeout rate. This is something we see a lot from rookies as they learn the MLB strike zone and they learn to adapt to how MLB pitchers are pitching him. But Scott has just 1 strikeout in his last 4 games, so it's possible he's turning a corner a little bit, starting to make more contact, and him making more contact will hopefully lead to him getting on base more and using that elite speed. Again, I'm not saying you hold Scott for long, but I'm saying you keep him on your bench at least as long as the Cardinals are keeping him on the active roster, because if he's up, he's going to play his elite defense in center field. And again, if he starts to figure out MLB pitching, we know that his speed will be a major difference maker in fantasy. So if you don't have a real roster crunch, I'm trying to hold on to Scott for just a little bit longer. My drop for the week is Texas Rangers third baseman Josh Jung, who's rostered in 88% of Yahoo leagues. I'm happy to stash Josh Jung on my IL, but I'm listing him here in case you don't have IL spots or you find yourself in a roster crunch. I don't believe that Josh Jung is a must hold. He was given an 8 to 10 week recovery timeline after having surgery. And so if we're cautious with that timeline, that puts him back in 2.5 to 3 months, which is the beginning of July. Plus, he had wrist surgery, which for a hitter can often mean sapping power, and that power is a huge part of Josh Jung's fantasy profile. So it's possible that we might not get the full Josh Jung we expect until August, if at all, this season. That means you're holding on to him for hopefully 2 months of production at the end of the season. Again, that's something you can do if you have the spots, but I don't think you should feel like you must do that if you're really hampered as other injuries pile up for your team this year. Now, my bonus stash for people who hung around this late in the video is Colton Cowser. On Sunday night, I mentioned that Cowser was a great stash if you weren't looking for immediate production because he had not yet started for the Orioles. Austin Hayes was hitting .077, and I thought it was only a matter of time before they gave Cowser a shot. It turned out the time that they gave Cowser a shot was now, and he started the last 2 games for the Orioles. So I know you're going to think that maybe he's not a stash, but he's still rostered in just 14% of leagues, so we need to jump in on this quickly. Cowser is 8 for 19 to start the season with 4 doubles, 7 RBIs, and a steal. I don't think he's giving this job back. He's a 24-year-old who was the 5th overall pick in the 2021 draft and is a consensus top 30 prospect on almost any scouting service's top 100 lists. He won a spot in the spring by hitting .304 with 6 home runs, 13 RBIs in 18 games. He's a really talented player. I think he's going to be a staple in the Baltimore Orioles offense for years to come. So if he's available in your league, I'm trying to get Colton Cowser wherever I can. So to wrap up for this week's Rotoworld ad drop, my ad was Michael Kopech of the Chicago White Sox. My hold was Victor Scott of the St. Louis Cardinals. My drop was Josh Jung of the Texas Rangers. And my stash was Colton Cowser of the Baltimore Orioles. I'll check you back next week for more fantasy baseball ad drops.